Forget the secret 7th gen myths. The real shock is this. America's next air dominance fighter is already funded, flight tested, and it has a name. Meet the F-47, the brain of a combat swarm built to win the skies of 2030. What if the jet that decides the next war isn't a rumor or a prototype, but an operational system you weren't supposed to notice? Meet the F-47, a 6th gen spearhead designed to punch through the world's hardest air defenses. In a quiet briefing, the speculation died, and the future took its first flight. Not a shadow project, an actual 6th gen platform with a mission. Command the swarm, blind the sensors, and rewrite air superiority. They call it the F-47. For years, defense analysts and even the media chased whispers of a so-called 7th generation fighter jet. Articles, think pieces, and speculative images flooded the internet, fueling the belief that the US was quietly building something beyond imagination. But behind the noise, the truth was far more immediate and far more dangerous. The United States Air Force wasn't investing in fantasy. It was finalizing a real, operational aircraft, the F-47, a 6th generation air dominance fighter already flight tested, funded, and approved. This wasn't a concept drawing. This was a combat-ready system built for contested skies, designed to leap ahead of rivals in China and Russia. And here's the key. The F-47 wasn't just a jet. It was the centerpiece of a doctrine. A brain that would control drone swarms, adapt its software mid-mission, and dominate battlefields across the Indo-Pacific and Eastern Europe. The world expected incremental upgrades. The US delivered something else entirely, an architecture for survival. But how did this sudden shift happen? And what sparked the need for a fighter that redefined warfare itself? The turning point came on March 21st, 2025. In a move that stunned defense insiders, President Donald Trump stood before the press and confirmed what many thought was only rumor. Boeing had secured a $20 billion contract to build the F-47. In that moment, speculation turned into reality. This wasn't another prototype locked away in secret hangars. It was a fully funded program with timelines, budgets, and a clear mission. The F-47 was officially named, not as a placeholder, but as the Air Force's direct successor to the legendary F-22 Raptor. The choice of the name itself carried weight. F-47 wasn't random. It honored the P-47 Thunderbolt of World War II, the year 1947 when the U.S. Air Force was founded, and even the title of the 47th president. It symbolized continuity and dominance, linking past victories to future air supremacy. For America's adversaries, that announcement was the alarm bell. A 6th generation jet, real and operational, wasn't just a step forward. It was a leap designed to render their investments in J-20s and Su-70s obsolete overnight. But the contract was only the beginning. What followed was a wave of developments that escalated the story into something far bigger than a single fighter jet. The announcement didn't just shake headlines. It rattled entire defense strategies. Within days, analysts warned that the balance of air power was tilting. China, banking on its J-20 stealth fleet, suddenly faced the reality of being outpaced. Russia, still struggling to mass-produce its Su-57, saw its claims of next-gen dominance begin to crumble. Meanwhile, leaks hinted at the scope of the F-47 program. This wasn't a lone aircraft. It was designed to fly as the command node of a swarm. AI-powered drones, modular weapons pods, and battlefield cloud networks would orbit around it like satellites around a planet. Every move the F-47 made would multiply the firepower of everything linked to it. For U.S. allies, this was reassurance. For adversaries, it was destabilizing. Suddenly, their carefully calculated investments in long-range missiles and radar systems looked fragile. If the F-47 could slip past detection, blind defenses, and unleash coordinated strikes, then their skies weren't secure anymore. And yet, what most didn't realize was that the jet wasn't just about technology. It was about rewriting the very doctrine of air warfare. But to understand just how radical this leap was, you have to look at the hidden backstory. the years of secret testing that made the impossible possible. Long before the contract was announced, the F-47 was already in the air, just not under its real name. Since 2020, experimental demonstrators tied to the Next Generation Air Dominance program had been flying in classified test ranges. Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall later admitted that full-scale flight prototypes with new propulsion systems, stealth geometry, and advanced battle networks were secretly tested for years. This secrecy wasn't about hiding a 7th-gen Ghost jet. It was about protecting the leap to a true 6th-generation platform before rivals could catch up. Behind closed doors, engineers refined radar-absorbing coatings, explored low-infrared signatures, and even trialed AI-assisted autonomy that allowed the aircraft to adapt mid-mission. Every lesson learned from past failures fed into the program. The F-22 Raptor, retired too early. The F-35 Lightning II, plagued by delays and cost overruns. The F-47 was designed differently, digitally native, modular, and upgradable without massive redesigns. Its software could evolve as fast as the threats it faced. In essence, the F-47 wasn't built to fight yesterday's wars. It was built to stay ahead of tomorrow's. And that hidden groundwork set the stage for the most dramatic fallout yet. Because once the backstory surfaced, the world had to face an uncomfortable question. What happens when America fields a jet that no defense system is prepared to stop? The unveiling of the F-47 sent shockwaves across the globe. Defense ministries in Beijing and Moscow scrambled for answers, their carefully worded press releases betraying a sense of unease. Suddenly, years of investment in long-range missile networks, anti-stealth radars, and electronic warfare systems looked vulnerable. Within NATO, allies saw the jet as a lifeline. For the first time in decades, they could envision a future where US air superiority wasn't just preserved, but expanded, even in the face of near-peer adversaries. Defense analysts openly declared that the Indo-Pacific skies and Eastern Europe's contested zones had been redrawn overnight. But the fallout didn't stop at geopolitics. Inside the Pentagon, the F-47 was hailed as a corrective to past mistakes. Where the F-22 had been retired too soon, and the F-35 had drowned in bureaucracy, the F-47 embodied a lean, agile, digitally flexible program. A model for future weapons development. And yet, the silence from one corner spoke louder than official statements. America's adversaries. Their lack of direct response was telling, a tacit acknowledgement that they had been caught off guard. The deterrent effect was already working, even before the jet reached full operational deployment. But this wasn't just about hardware. The F-47 symbolized something bigger, a transformation of warfare itself, a blueprint that could change how nations fight and how wars are won. The rise of the F-47 wasn't simply a military upgrade, it was a shift in doctrine. Air superiority was no longer about a single jet outmaneuvering another. It was about an ecosystem of machines working together in real time. The F-47 would not only fly missions, it would command them, directing drones, satellites, and even cyber assets in one seamless battle network. This represented a profound change in the psychology of warfare. In the past, nations measured power by counting planes, tanks, or missiles. Now, dominance was measured by who could connect and coordinate faster. The F-47 was engineered as the brain of a swarm, the spearhead of a digital army, where every move was amplified across the battle space. For rivals, the implications were chilling. The jet wasn't designed to play fair. It was designed to blind enemy sensors, cripple communications, and strike before defenses even realized they were under attack. Every existing countermeasure, stealth detection radar, long-range missiles, electronic warfare, suddenly looked outdated. In the halls of military academies, a new lesson was spreading. The F-47 wasn't just a fighter jet. It was the proof that whoever controls the network controls the war. And as the stakes rose higher, the program built toward a climax, the single reveal that left even America's allies stunned. The most dramatic reveal wasn't about speed, stealth, or even firepower. It was about adaptation. The F-47 wasn't frozen in time like the jets of the past. It was digitally alive. Its core systems were built on modular software, allowing it to rewrite its own playbook in the middle of combat. Imagine a jet that launches with one mission profile, encounters an unexpected threat, and within minutes updates its code to outsmart it. That's the reality of the F-47. No other fighter on Earth has this capacity. While adversaries rely on hardware locked by years of design cycles, the F-47 evolves like a living organism. And then came the numbers. Mach 2 plus top speed, a 1,000 plus nautical mile combat radius, nearly double that of the F-35, and stealth so refined that radar operators described it as a black hole in the sky. Combined with AI-driven command of unmanned escorts, it became clear the F-47 wasn't just a plane. It was a revolution in air dominance. For US allies, this was reassurance. For rivals, it was a warning shot. The future of warfare had already taken flight, and it carried the unmistakable call sign of the F-47. But even at the peak of its unveiling, there was one final twist, an element so unexpected it forced the world to rethink what was possible in combat. Just when the world thought it understood the scale of the F-47, another layer emerged. Buried in defense documents was proof of research into optical cloaking, the holy grail of invisibility. Using advanced metamaterials, US labs were experimenting with bending light itself, making objects vanish to the human eye and to sensors across the spectrum. If even partially successful, this meant the F-47 wouldn't just slip past radar. It could disappear in plain sight. Visual detection, thermal signatures, even advanced quantum radar systems could be deceived. For adversaries, it meant one terrifying truth. They might never even know when the F-47 was already overhead. This wasn't science fiction. Reports confirmed that field tests on metamaterials and electromagnetic wave manipulation were already underway. The F-47 was built as the platform to integrate these breakthroughs the moment they became viable. In short, America's next fighter wasn't just a leap forward. It was a platform designed to keep leaping, pulling further ahead every year. What began as whispers of a mythical 7th-gen fighter ended with the reality of a 6th-gen weapon that outclassed anything else in existence. Which leaves the world with one question. If the F-47 is already here, what happens to the nations still preparing for yesterday's wars? The story of the F-47 isn't just about a new jet. It's about a paradigm shift in warfare. For decades, military power was measured by fleets and firepower. Now, it's measured by adaptation, networks, and speed of innovation. The F-47 embodies all three, standing as the first fighter designed to evolve as fast as the threats it faces. For America's rivals, this jet is a nightmare. For its allies, it's a promise. And for the rest of the world, it's a reminder that the battles of tomorrow won't be fought the way they were yesterday. Air dominance is no longer about being seen, or even unseen. It's about being untouchable. But here's the thought to leave you with. If the F-47 is already rewriting the rules, what secrets are still hidden, waiting to be revealed? If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to subscribe and join us, because this story is only the beginning, and the next chapter could change the future of war forever.